peaceful and beautiful and physical and angry all at the same time.
Were you idiot, your mind would cave in and your heart would explode within your chest.
This is going to be a shame.
Here we go!
What's happening, everybody? Welcome inside a brand new edition of the Tall Can Audio Podcast. Matt Robinson with you, as always, in the TCA studio in beautiful Bytown, Canada. We're bringing back one of our favorites, although I will say a little beef with him right now. He was supposed to be in studio, and he had to wave that off. That's fine. I understand that. But he was at IKEA for quite a while, and I was sort of hoping he may roll in here with a couple of meatballs. Nothing, man. He's not here, didn't bring meatballs. It was, I don't know. I thought we were friends, but what's going on, Graeme Nichols, man?
I'm used to my family telling me how much of a disappointment I am. I don't need to hear it from Matt from Tall Can Audio.
You do not, no.
No, I don't need that on my plate as well. I could use some meatballs, though. I didn't even get meatballs for myself. So I'm sorry, man. Like, it just didn't work out.
These things
for
happen.
For those of you listening, yeah, it was just the way that Matt and I were talking. I was on shift yesterday doing some firefighting, and then didn't get back to Matt till this morning just because we were busy yesterday.
Sure.
And we were just trying to organize the time to pop into the studios and get stuff done. I was kind of hoping, maybe naively hoping, to get in the studios this morning.
Yeah.
But it couldn't happen until noon. So I'm like, well, it's perfect because I have to go to IKEA to pick up a bunch of stuff because we're remodeling a different part of our house. And,
right.
Yeah, just took way longer than I anticipated at IKEA, and called Matt. I'm like, you got to get the kids off the bus at a certain time. So
sure.
Here I am at home, back at home. But yeah, sorry, man. We'll do it.
No,
we'll
of course. We'll punt it down the road. We'll get you in studio.
Beers on me next time I'm coming in.
Sweet.
So yeah.
Well, and this is the other
apologies.
side effect to, and no need for apologies, man. I always appreciate you making the time in general. But the other side effect here is, since we have done this a little bit later in the day, I don't know what you're doing, but I am going to have a pint here. And, morning shows, it's not a good look, right? I don't love getting out of bed. And
well, you don't have to tell people when you record.
That's true. We're not live here.
That's your fault.
Most things are around here.
That's the power of the studio.
This is it.
You can pretend to be whatever day you want it to be.
That's right. I got one here that is it comes from Blood Brothers down in Toronto, man. And I always like their stuff. I don't have enough of it. It's
good spot.
They are elite. Yeah. This is called the Guilty Remnant. And
I've had that at the Cat. I think I've had that on top of the Cat before.
You and I talk about this all the time, that we're going to get together at the Cat, or we're going to go out to Wood Brothers or something. Yeah.
I'll pick you up and we'll go.
But this is new to me. Like I said, the Guilty Remnant, 6%. It's a white stout. And I like this one because you're my first guest. Rob and I are in here on Monday morning, so we did that. But you're the first guest of 2026. And so I'm going to use this as like a, the holiday season, beers should be done. But I've got this one Guilty Remnant still hanging around here. So that's how I'm going to treat that, man. Have you tried anything good over the holiday season?
Sorry?
Did you try anything good over the holiday season on the beer front?
Beer front. Well, like a bunch of guys from my station and myself are doing the 24 Beers of Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
At the Cheshire Cat, which was like a month-long promotion where it's like if you go to the Cat, each of their taps are numbered 1 to 24.
Yep.
So if you, over the course of the month, if you finish all the taps by the end of the month, they take you on a mystery bus tour. You get loaded up on this.
You get loaded up for sure.
Well, you get loaded up on the school bus in January at some point. They haven't even sent out an email letting us know when it is, but you get on a school bus. They take you to an undisclosed location where it's like free drinks, free food, and there's 6 of us from my station going, so it's gonna be a fun time. It should be a lot of fun.
That sounds beauty, man.
A shameless plug for the Cat because it's a wicked.
It is. I have heard nothing but good things, and somehow
good owners, good staff. Yeah,
okay.
You have to go. You have to go.
Somehow, after living in town this long, I've still not been out to the Cat. So that is a thing you and I've talked about before. In 2026, we get that done.
Yep. And when we've talked about Wood Brothers too, there's a few spots that we just have to line up, coordinate, and get it going.
We'll drag that pigeon, Graham Creech, along with us at some point.
Do it up, bring Bunda as well. And,
of course, man.
And yeah, we'll just have to get the ball moving on some of these fronts. But
this is
really sorry again, Matt, that I wasn't there in person today. But lots to talk about.
There is, man. There's plenty to talk about. We have hit the mid-season point in the NHL. We'll talk some Sens here in a minute. But I want to kick it off and just hand you the ball for a minute, because there has been a pile on the international hockey front here in the last little bit, whether it be the selections of Team Canada, Team USA for the Olympics, the aftermath of the World Juniors. I'm just sort of curious, man. In the last several weeks, that's largely been where my attention has rested is on the international hockey. And look, the Leafs are doing what they're doing. The Sens are doing what they're doing. It's kind of a muddy Atlantic. We can get into that later. But I'm sort of curious, did the World Juniors grab your attention much this year and compared to other years? The roster selections for the Olympics, like it's been a heavy kind of international hockey vibe here over the last couple weeks.
Yeah, I think like World Juniors are always an entertaining part, right? Like, you're home during the holidays, so it's going to be on in the background, irrespective of what you're doing, right? Like, it's always just something that you'll throw on, and it's easy to watch. And everybody loves looking at young talent that's coming through the system, the next wave of talent and generational talent that may exist out there, and even like people who are looking ahead. Like, if your team's not very good, you're looking ahead to the NHL draft that's going to happen in June. So, but from like a Senators perspective, like observing it as someone who covers the team and does analysis and the rest of it, I wasn't particularly interested by this iteration of the World Juniors simply because there was no talent really there from the Senators perspective. I know they had like Logan Hensler, who was there for the Team USA, but like there wasn't like an influx of talent there. And like Logan Hensler is kind of like that, skates very well, doesn't particularly have a skill set that stands out aside from his skating. He's just not like a super flashy player. He's just a solid, steady defenseman, right? So just in terms of a pure broad skill perspective, there wasn't much drawing me in as a Senators fan. And then you look at like this year's draft that's coming up, Ottawa doesn't have their first round pick. So it's hard to...
What deal was that part of?
I love the event. I love the tournament. I love the event in itself, but just from that Senators broader perspective,
this is the leftover Dadonov trade, right?
Like, thank you for bringing that up.
I honestly couldn't remember until I get it.
Oh, touche! You couldn't remember, just like the no trade clause belonging to Evgeny Dadonov. Yeah, very cute. I see what you did there. Well done. I hope you're very proud of yourself.
Almost never, man. Almost never. The Sens have punted this, and I thought that was a reasonable strategy. We've seen the Kovalchuk thing and whatever else in terms of, okay, we punished you, but if you wait long enough, we'll unpunish you. And I did see some hope that if we just punt this down the road far enough, it's a new ownership group, it's a new management group, maybe the league would sort of forgive the Dorian mistake here that led to the Sens, having this punishment levied or whatever. Did you... Yep. Was that your feeling? Was it smart to punt it this far? Was there another time you'd have just given it up? At this point, we still don't know what's going to happen, but every day that goes by, it seems a little less likely that they're going to be let off the hook here. But we don't know till the draft happens.
Yeah, and I think that's the tough part, right? I think if you're looking at this purely from a punishment perspective, I think if you're Ottawa, your new ownership, your new management, you kind of inherited this problem that happened under Eugene Melnyk and Pierre Dorian's watch, or like the Melnyk Estates watch. And it was downplayed. Like when you're going through the prospective sale process and purchase of this franchise, this event is getting downplayed to you. So as an incoming owner who's inheriting this problem, it was downplayed. That it wasn't this big of a deal. And, like the value of a first-round pick can be exceptionally high depending on where it is, where it slots, right? So I think just from a monetary perspective, like a first-round pick, a high first-round pick could be worth, I don't know what the financial equivalent would be, but it'd probably be like couple $1 million, right? Potentially.
I do think we saw this a couple of years ago. Somebody did the math. It's like $4 million for a...
So there is if you get a strong, high class player who can step in your lineup, play in your top 4, play in your top 6, or even top 9, really, that there's a ton of value in that, and just to have that kind of outright dismissed is not a big deal. Listen, don't worry about it. Everything's gonna be fine. Go through the sale. Like, I'd be pissed. I would honestly be pissed if I was Michael Andlauer. I think like at the same time, I think there's an element to this in the sense that, listen, like I know you're buying the team, you're fresh to the organization, you haven't really evaluated everything and everyone who's part of it. But I think you have enough of a catalog of Pierre Dorian mistakes. Like you could, like if you're Michael Andlauer, you could probably talk to journalists in town. You could probably talk to anyone who has their finger on the pulse of this franchise over the past 15, 20 years. Yeah. And they would have told you that Pierre Dorian was a bumbling, incompetent.
There are skeletons in the closets here.
Negligent general manager. Yes. Who prided himself on going in front of a microphone saying whatever he wanted.
We're a team.
We're a team. This is the greatest day of my life trading Mark Stone. Proudest day of my life.
Oh my
trading
God.
Mark Stone. And like there's a series of events and like it was all well documented, it was well chronicled, but they allowed him to exist for a month, and then this story comes to light shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
1 month into this sale, and they can him.
And so, as a bit of a refresher, they trade Dodonov to Vegas. Yeah. And then Vegas wants to move him along. And
at the trade deadline to Anaheim. And they were looking to make a move and free up some salary.
And suddenly we find out, no, I've got a no trade clause, which Vegas claims they were not aware of. That obviously gets blamed on Ottawa, that you pushed that on without telling them that this is a restriction. So, it's just a couple of years ago. So for anyone,
and there's a wrinkle for it. So like Anaheim's pissed off because in order to absorb this Dadonov contract, they were going to get compensated with a draft pick. You're negotiating trades. You're putting work and effort into managing this deal, and it falls apart on deadline day of all days. So like they're pissed.
Well, and everybody looks bad, right? Like Anaheim
and Vegas looks silly for negotiating what looks like in bad faith.
And Dadonov looks bad for having exercised like a right that everyone knew he had.
For exercising and negotiating.
He should have never been put in that situation.
And then Ottawa looks bad for failing or willfully failing or ignorantly.
Yes. Like you either misled them or you messed up.
It's either gross negligence or gross incompetence.
Yes.
Take your pick. And it looks terrible.
It's gross either way.
And like I've heard some anecdotal stories about like how they discussed what happened behind closed doors, leading to the punishment. And it doesn't look good from an Ottawa perspective.
Right.
From what had happened, and I can tell you that story off air.
Sure.
But it's just not good, right? And I think the part of it is, it's like, had Adam Lauer just gassed Dorian from day one, which seemed like just in total inevitability at that point, and just said, hey, we're starting fresh. And then it's like, okay, well, you're starting your stewardship as the owner with a clean slate. You have no links to the past. What happened previously, we're not going to punish you for. The guy's already lost his job. There's not much we can do. But he was there, right? Like he was there for the first month of the season. Yep. He was still managing things. And he was part of that. He was part of the new ownership group for that brief period. So it's like, I understand why Vegas and Anaheim would want their pound of flesh.
Sure.
But at the same time, I think if you're the Senators, you can be pissed off that this was downplayed as you're going through a sale process. I think there are now mechanisms in place. Like the NHL rolled out an app last year in the new year. So beginning of the 2025 calendar year. It's just an Apple-based app for front offices around the league to be able to pull up essentially their equivalent of Puckpedia.
Okay.
Where like you get all the contract information, you get all the no trade clause clarifications.
Hilarious.
Money,
it took the NHL
else.
till 2025 to do that. Like
sure. But like now it's like, okay, so before you were relying on NHL general managers to keep their own catalog database of information.
I call you, I want to acquire this player. I'm counting on you to send me the details.
And I think, essentially. And the problem with Dorian in Ottawa is that he tried to do everything by himself. Yes. Like he didn't rely on other people to do work. He didn't trust them. Close circle, operated on his own. And that was ultimately, that was part of the reason for his downfall.
Operation for that.
Yeah, and you can't really do that. That's not what a modern franchise does in the 2025, 2026, right? So,
and the reason this is such a big deal, to bring it back to the not having your first round pick this year, as far as we know in this moment, is like the Sens are on the upswing. The Sens are looking to contend and compete, and we'll get into what's gone wrong this year in a minute. But like once you get into that place, you're trading first round picks. Like you need to know that if I have a bad year this year, at least I have that pick to fall back on, and they don't right now.
But this is the roundabout problem, right?
Yeah.
Because they all of a sudden now they don't have this first round pick. They're forced into a decision last year where it's like, okay, we can this is the punishment that's been levied against us.
Yep.
It seems unfair because of circumstance ABC. And like, sorry, just to go back to that app, right? The NHL
by all
app.
means, yes.
Front offices have that. So
and it comes from the league
introducing this. Yeah, so like introducing
the league
this
says these guys have this protection. This
100%.
You're not counting on the guy you're negotiating with
now. It is a centralized database of information that previously didn't exist. You were relying on each individual team to provide that information to you on a case by case basis. So now you've essentially acknowledged that, like from my own perspective, this is just my own opinion of it. When you as a league unfold and reveal this this app, that's essentially an acknowledgement that we're covering our ass here.
Yeah.
Situation A has happened in the past.
Yes.
We are not going to allow
We're not
that to
getting
happen.
burned
That
by
was a
that
blind
again.
spot.
Yep.
That was a blind spot. We are never going to allow that again. And to me, that's an admission, even though they unveiled it after the Dadonov trade, that's an admission of culpability on the part of the league.
I agree.
Like, there is some ownership of blame on the part of the league here, where it's like, if we're going to be a real modern professional sports league entity.
Well, I don't know if you know this, Nichols.
Where players are getting traded for, and they're costing tens of millions of dollars.
At the NHL trade deadline, right? Every year.
Yep.
James Duthie tells everybody, pencils down, but Nichols, there might be some more trades, right? We're going to go through Central, whatever, everybody's waiting on the phone, right? And so you have to register your trades and your signings and this and that with the league before it's allowed to play out. Why doesn't the league, as it does now, but just have that on its own, right? In its own place, and now I can log into this app or whatever through the league and go, I'm looking at Dadonov, okay, he's got a signing bonus of this, he's got a no trade of 10 teams for that, whatever it might be, and not have to just count on whatever guy on the other end of the phone is dealing with 3 different possible trades before the deadline or whatever else. It's amazing it took a blunder like this for the league to just be like, actually, you know what? Let's just use our database, our list of contracts.
So I think from like an Andlauer perspective, I think like you could argue, like especially with the introduction of this app, you can be like, well, there's an admission of culpability on your end.
Sure.
So it's not just on us. Like this is you putting something out after the fact, acknowledging that there was a blind spot in these trade negotiations. Where you're taking some of the ownership and responsibility away from the individual teams and putting it on the league just to ensure that everyone has an equal playing field.
Sure.
But I don't want to ignore the willful ignorance or negligence of an incompetent general manager. I think like you can't get around that. That's just inexcusable. You're running a multi-million-dollar industry here in town, or a sports franchise here in town.
Yep.
That level of incompetence cannot exist. And if it did, deservedly can't, right? They wipe their hands with him, and he hasn't worked again, right?
No.
And I think it kind of speaks for itself. But at the same time, I think like if you're Michael Andlauer, it wasn't disclosed to you. They revealed this app. I think there's enough grounds to say, hey, guys, like, give us something back. Maybe not a top 15, 20 pick,
well,
but
this
maybe
is what
something
Sens fans are calling out for, is the devil's treatment, where you don't get your pick back, but you do get one at the end of the first round or something like that.
But I think like to get back to your original question, like the deference of do we take a 2025 pick or do we take a 2026 first round pick? And I think like independent third party prognosticators who look at prospects and amateur players, many of them determined that 2026 was a stronger draft class.
Right.
Obviously, you have Gavin McKenna headlining it, although there's some debate as to whether he deserves to still be the
Stenberg's going to be in there. Yeah. Verhoff.
But there's like some very good players.
Yeah.
And Ottawa was in a situation where they made the postseason, right? So like that's a pick in the back half of the first round. So you know that there's less value there. And I think with Ottawa, there's an assumption that your team's only going to get better and better. But as we've seen this year, that's not necessarily true. If you don't get saves and your guys don't play at a higher level, in some respects, bad luck can also undo your season as well, right? And we saw that with San Jose when they made the Erik Karlsson trade. Ottawa inevitably winds up with the 3rd overall pick because San Jose essentially tanked. A number of the players got hurt and their goaltenders couldn't make a save. Does that sound familiar?
Well,
similar kind of situation
there's
here,
a
right?
Phil Kessel of it all that runs around in my head, but that's different.
It happens, right? Like bad luck, like in a parity-filled league where even like the worst teams still win 20, 30 games a year. A couple key things can go wrong for you, and then you're chasing it a bit. And as we've seen throughout the course of the first half of the season, Ottawa, despite some growth at 5-on-5 and despite some strong play from their key players, is chasing it a bit just because of bad luck and some circumstantial problems.
So let me because we have over the last couple days after the Canadian and American Olympic rosters were announced, and we can get into that if we need to at some point or if we wish to, but we have over the last couple of days seen some of the other rosters come out, and I want to ask you, because a day ago we saw Team Latvia announce their roster. 2 former Senators on that roster. Kasper Dogovins and Rudy Balcers. Who is your favorite Latvian Senator of all time there, Graeme Nichols?
The Dogman for sure. The Dogman for sure.
Dogovins, I believe, as the video game pronounced.
Yeah, I'll never forget his chant when Binghamton won the Calder Cup that year. Where it's just like, he calls himself the Rooster. Like, well, I wonder why people call him the Rooster.
I'm curious, man. Like when you look at what's happening now, and there's been a bit of a debate here. And like I said, we'll dive a little deeper into the Sens specific here in a minute, but I saw perhaps no more. I don't know that I've ever seen it as strong. This sort of, I don't want to overstate it, but this frustration with Brady Tkachuk as I did coming out of the Utah game on Wednesday night. And he's coming off an injury. He's got his hand wrapped, so some of the things that he does have been tougher for him to do. But I've seen this sort of narrative or whatever that maybe he's saving himself for the Olympics. And on the other end, I've seen out in Edmonton, Connor McDavid get off to this brutal start, relatively speaking, for him. And then over the last couple of weeks, ramping it up. Similar in Toronto, Matthews, brutal to start the season compared to what he should be, looking better lately. And are those guys ramping up for the Olympics? Are these just like, whether it's I'm saving myself for the Olympics, whether it's, okay, now I care and I'm getting ready for the Olympics, do either of these versions of the story hold any water for you, or is it just the ebb and flow of the way things work for an NHL superstar?
I think it's just people living in the minutia, right? I don't think people look at broader perspectives per se. I think everybody, especially in this, we live in a society right now where it's like everyone has to react on particular moments. Mm-hmm. It's like you don't take bodies of work into consideration. It's like, what happened last night? Oh, Brady was on for 2 goals where he was watching the puck. God, he needs to be better. Why isn't he competing harder? And it's like, yes, he was on the ice. Yes, he got caught for puck watching, especially on the second goal where his man, the defenseman, stuck in behind John Marino and then captured a rebound off the end boards and then buries it in a wide open net. Yeah, mm-hmm. Obviously it makes him look bad in those instances. But I mean, you're also questioning the compete level of the captain, a guy who puts his body on the line mm-hmm. every game and has for the past several years. He's the heartbeat of your franchise. He's headed towards unrestricted free agency in 2 years, and you want to risk, if you want to be vocal and call out the captain and draw attention negatively to his play of late, where he's still putting up points. Yep. Right. And I think that's the thing. And you're going to risk trying to alienate your captain. And, even in many circles, you see people talking about how the fact that he's on a podcast now and maybe he's distracted by doing podcasting and don't focus on your podcast, focus on the game. And I think we're just living in this bubble where it's like everybody has to react positively or negatively to everything that happens. And that's just it's just this weird compulsion where everybody has to do it. And I don't know, man, social media is so toxic. Yeah. It's Twitter is just awful. Mm-hmm. If it wasn't for the fact that it was just a great place to circulate your content. Yes. Same. I probably wouldn't even go on. I'd be checked out a long time ago. And I still kind of am. I tweet. Probably this is the least amount I've ever posted on mm-hmm. social media. And same with Blue Sky. I just don't do it. It's just the discourse and the community, the sense of community used to be really, really strong and really, really great. And I don't get that same level that I used to. And I don't know, maybe that it could just be me getting older as well. But I think it's such a toxic, negative environment now that it's unappealing. I don't want to necessarily be a part of it too often. So that's where I'm at on that. But
you're not buying into he's saving himself for the Olympics, or these other guys are ramping up to the Olympics.
So I think part of the problem with Brady right now is that his hand is wrapped. He cannot fight. He recognizes he cannot fight. And when you know that you have those kind of limitations, maybe that impacts the way that you play. Because if you go to that line, where Brady is at his best when he's going to that line and he's not crossing it. And there are instances where he will cross it, right? And he can't follow that up. And I don't know if that's impacting him. It's a psychological thing where it's hey, I can't I can't back that up. But
like, I would be willing to overlook that sort of thing, and yet there are moments where, especially like you just circle back to that Wednesday night game against Utah. There are moments where it's like, I need you to engage more defensively. Like I don't need you to fight, but I do need you to.
He's never been a strong defensively inclined player as well. I think he's certainly. There are still several instances, like in the course of a stretch of games, where like he might fly the zone on a turnover to create like a stretch pass opportunity, and a rush opportunity. But I think like those aren't happening at the same frequency that they did early in his career. I think he recognized the importance of playing the 200-foot game, being on the right side of the puck, and working hard defensively to get that puck back, and creating offense off your defense. Like, I think he does recognize that, and he's gotten better at it over the past couple of years now that Travis Green's been here.
Yep.
But I think with Brady in particular, he just needs to be. I think people are expecting him to be Four Nations Brady every single night, and I don't know if that's a fair expectation. Like, if you do that 82 games a year, you're just going to be broken, right?
Yeah, well, let me sell it to you this way, because one of the things that's been a big talking point through the first half of the season around, the Toronto fan base is, man, Matthews looks brutal. If that guy shows up to the Olympics and suddenly looks like the Matthews that we all saw a year or two ago, there's going to be fucking hell to be paid, right? Like, you need to care. You need to engage more and not be saving yourself for the Olympics. Now, suddenly Matthews is kind of going again in Toronto. And so I do wonder a little bit, like, if Brady is getting this blowback of, hey, look, I barely got going. What was he, 3-4 games into the season when he got hurt? Comes back. I'm trying to get going. I'm trying to get up to speed. The team is struggling a little bit. I do wonder if there's like this frustration again that's like, okay, you're not playing well here. I do wonder if there's a little bit of this Ottawa waiting for, don't screw me here at the Olympics, man. Like, don't suddenly look good again. But I'm with you. You can't be Four Nations Brady 82 nights a year. It's not a thing.
If
the timing is all that's interesting, right?
If Four Nations Brady starts showing up close to the Olympics, I think you take it and you're like, oh, hopefully this continues.
Right.
Like, I look at it the other way, where it's like, if you can get back to that level and carry that through the second half of the season, go nuts.
Sure.
Because like, you did miss 20 plus games while you were out. So theoretically, you should be more well rested than the rest of the guys here. But like, contextually, Matt, like, he missed 20 plus games because he's got a torn thumb ligament that got reconstructed.
Right.
So there's context. Why isn't Brady shooting the puck as often as he used to from distance? Well, it probably has to do with his thumb.
Right. I'm with you on this, Nichols. I am. But I'm just curious how you think the Sens fan base will react if he suddenly looks
there's
much more engaged at the Olympics.
I think there's always going to be negative reactions regardless, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a talking point. It's a water cooler debate, right?
Well, and it would be different if he was getting ready to gear up to play for Canada instead of USA. So we will be,
But I mean, like, if Brady gets back to his previous levels, like and I've said this on the Coming in Hot podcast before, but like, the glass half full optimistic perspective is Brady is still putting up a bunch of points.
Yeah,
he's still
point a game basically.
Offense. He's still doing Brady things, but he isn't playing at his highest level yet. And I think, like, if this guy takes his game to another level and starts producing what he's currently doing now, while adding in like the physical elements, the playing with an edge and bite and snarl.
Yep.
If that's around the corner, I think that's an encouraging thing. It doesn't have to be a negative right now.
Sure.
I think the problem is that the team's not winning games. Is it because of Brady? No, not at all.
It's
not
not
at all. I think
so
if you're trying to mask Otto's issues with Brady Tkachuk not playing at his highest level, I think there's a disconnect there.
I think you're right about that. So let's get into that, because look, I know you're a guy who follows the fancies as well as anybody, right? And has an eye on this team. Have you ever seen a team with more clearly defined issues than this team? Like, I can't recall ever seeing a roster where it's like, wow, like, most of this is performing pretty well, and they just can't keep the puck out of their own net once you're asking a goaltender to make a save. And I don't know if it's ever been this clear. I can't remember, Nichols, a time where I've looked at a team and said, that's a really good team just getting shit goaltending.
New Jersey from a couple of years ago.
I guess so.
New Jersey, Carolina in many respects as well. Like, if Carolina had an upper echelon goalie, I think they would have gone deeper in the postseason. I think there's
those are fair, but like,
it
is so clear cut with this Sens team that they are playing much better than this record.
And I think that's where the frustration lies, right? Because like they are like top 5, top 10 in many underlying metrics. Whether you want to look at like the rate of shots allowed, shots on goal allowed, expected goals allowed. I think they're like towards the top of the league. They were top of the league at one point. I don't know. I haven't looked at the numbers this morning, so I can't really clarify on that or expand upon that. But like they're doing a lot of really, really, really good things at 5-on-5. And I think like, you know, like Travis Green's post-game availability is often like draw criticism because he's like, well, I thought we played well tonight. You know, it's just we didn't get this. Well, he's not wrong. No. And I know it sucks. Like it sucks to hear that consistently where it's like, hey, I think we played well. But I think like many nights this season, the team has done really, really well. It's just that they didn't capitalize on their opportunities. That, you know, they were hitting posts, just getting out goalied, whatever. And, you know, like, I guess like you could even talk about the Detroit game the other night. Like dominate the first period. Dominate, absolutely. Like between Dylan Cousins and Claude Giroux, they probably could have had like 5 goals between them in the first period. They were down 3-0 because they couldn't get saves, untimely penalties, shorthanded goals, power play goals against. And they're undone by many of the things. And we've seen it before. It's just like, I don't know what it is. I've watched pretty much every game this season. And whether it's Linus Ullmark in nets or Levi Merilainen in nets or Hunter Shepard or Matt Sogard, doesn't matter. There haven't been, in my mind, that many soft goals to be where the team is at this point, but there haven't been key saves either. Right. They're just allowing goals that they're not soft, but they're not good. Like it's stuff that should get saved that isn't getting saved, but they're not soft, if that makes sense. Like they're just not making.
Yeah, just give me one big save, one clutch save.
Just something. Just something. But like every game is like a microcosm of the problems this year where it's like the team does well in a stretch. They allow a goal on the first chance off a defensive miscue, like the Detroit game, for example. Yeah, they're doing okay. The forward down low throws it back to the point, expecting David Perron to still be there, but David Perron has left the zone because he's going back to the bench for a line change to get fresh legs off while the team has sustained ozone time. And then what David Perron did wasn't wrong. He's just trying to get fresh legs out, keep the tire group out there. You know. And they make whoever passed it, I can't remember who passed it to him, makes a bad read. Puck goes back to Clevin. He turns it over. Andrew Kopp comes back and scores the other way. And it's just, that's in a nutshell, that's been the Senators season. It's just unfortunate mistakes at the wrong times after they're doing well. The goaltender's not making a key save in a pivotal moment. And this is what happens. And now you start looking at the save percentage. Okay, one of the worst save percentages. We're one of the worst teams save percentages in the league. Yeah, and then you look at their 5-on-5 stuff. You're like, yep, they're bottom 3 in 5-on-5 save percentage. Shorthanded save percentage, the worst in the league. And then you look historically at the worst save percentages ever. And Ottawa at a time, I'd have to look at it now. I haven't looked at it this week, but like they had historically last week, they had the worst shorthanded save percentage ever in the analytical era. And I know, like we're talking about. You know, like teams are chasing shot quality as opposed to quantity. And like save percentages are going down across the league. Goaltenders now are having saves taken away from them because any puck that is saved by a goaltender that was going to go high or wide of the net is now no longer being registered as a save. There's many things that are impacting the stats, but you can't ignore the fact that the Senators have the worst historical save percentage while shorthanded. You can't. And that impacts your penalty kill. I know it's come under constant criticism for the diamond formation, just getting way too passive at times, affording forwards down low, way too much chance, time and space down low. But if you're not getting saves, Matt, it doesn't matter what you're doing on the ice. And we've seen that. And now the Senators are like 1 point out of the Eastern Conference basement, or 2 points out of the Eastern Conference basement.
And yet still like 4 out of the playoffs. Like
but like the problem is, and
it's always the number of teams you're going to have to jump.
The number of teams, like obviously Ottawa's points percentage is a little bit higher than some of the other ones who are ahead of them.
There's
like
games
Boston,
in hand
for example.
here.
There are games in hand, but if they can't go on a prolonged winning streak at some point soon, they're missing the postseason. And then you talk about the missed draft pick and everything else, and it's like, you know, like the organization essentially has pissed away so many top 10 picks under Pierre Dorian, whether it was like through trades. Like you look at the Matt Duchene trade, they lost the 4th overall pick just by making that ill-timed deal. You look at the Alex DeBrincat trade, that's another top 10 pick. You look at the selection of Tyler Boucher, who is, you know, widely considered a reach at where he was taken. They felt strongly about him. they made that call.
Hasn't panned out.
He hasn't lived up to expectations. He still could wind up being a solid pro.
Yeah.
A useful pro, can play in the bottom of your lineup, but like top 10 pick on that. And you look at some of the guys taking around those players, they don't have to draft a Bowen Byram. They don't have to draft a Kevin Kuczynski. They don't have to draft, like Boucher. They could have had, like Matt Coronado was there. Jesper Wallstedt, highly regarded Swedish goaltender, was taken in that vicinity. Matt Coronado turns into a decent player. Cole Sillinger was in that area too. Like there's guys who played NHL games, but like you're talking about, and even Logan Brown, if you want to go even further back.
Yeah.
There've been several picks, like top 10 picks, top 10 selections, and Jacob Chikrin was a top 15 pick when they made that deal, right?
Yep.
So,
well, let me ask you on the goaltending thing, man, because we went into the year with Linus Ullmark and Leevi Meriläinen, and I honestly thought that would be fine. And I don't want to speculate on what's going on with Ullmark. It's none of my business. He'll return when he's ready to return. If he wants to talk about it, he will. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But was that enough? Was that a mistake to think whether you couldn't have banked on what's going on with Ullmark, but was it a mistake in hindsight, which is always unfair, but to think that Meriläinen would be enough to back up, or has he kind of disappointed based on what reasonable expectations should have been?
I don't think so. Like I think like Meriläinen last year outplayed Anton Forsberg. I think like the only thing that Meriläinen had was flexibility in the sense that he could be sent to the AHL.
Yeah.
And I think Anton Forsberg is a capable NHL backup goaltender, so there's no slight to him. But I think like Levy possesses an athleticism and a calming presence. Like I think he's like very technically fine, but he's also athletic. And I think like when he gets both working in concert, he could be the most talented guy in Ottawa. But for whatever reason, that hasn't happened this season. It's just like bad goals have gone in. I shouldn't say bad goals, but like untimely goals have gone in. And it's tough as a backup. Like Linus Ullmark, and this goes back to the beginning of the season. Like Levy had a bad preseason, but it's tough. Like the preseason, you're drafting like just. You're drafting like 6, 7, 8
half
pros.
of Belleville's defense in front of you.
Like he's playing behind a terrible defense team structure in the preseason. And then he has a bad first start where the team just played really poorly in front of him. And then they sent him to Belleville just because they felt like they couldn't trust him at that time. They sent him down under this premise that he could get his work and get his reps in, and just play a little bit more consistently, and that'll benefit him rather than just spending a week and a half, 2 weeks on the bench just watching Linus play. And then
but doesn't that sort of lend
for whatever reason
the idea that like you should go out and grab a James Reimer or somebody else to be able to sit on the bench while your young guy goes and plays in Belleville, right?
Like a third string backup who is always the backup.
Yes. Who's like, you don't care whether he gets minutes or not.
That could be,
right?
That could be like the modern NHL, right?
Yeah.
Like you get a guy like a Reimer who you can just like have, just like if Linus isn't playing,
right,
have him go sit in the stands and then roll with those guys. Yeah, that could be a modern like load management thing for the goalies, right? And I think
even if it allows Meriläinen to go down to Belleville,
organizations,
right? Like
potentially if there's a stretch of games where, but I think like this level of trust, the issues have extended throughout the course of the season where like Linus was on pace to play in 60 plus games.
Yeah.
Like he's never played in more than
too
50.
Much. Yeah, no.
He's never played in 50 or more games.
No.
So he was on pace to shatter his previous regular season high. And you're in a situation where Levy's playing every 7 to 10 days. And if you're a goalie who's playing every 7 to 10 days, it's hard to get your reps, especially in a condensed schedule, Olympic year, right? Like there's tons of opportunities to get games.
And that's all I'm saying is have somebody else, like have your number one and your number two both starting somewhere, and then this number three sitting on the bench where you need them, right? Like,
so just come in if the game gets out of hand, kind of thing.
Yeah,
right. So,
talk to me for a minute, man, about Jake Sanderson, because last year going into the Four Nations, there was a conversation being had throughout the fall, and it was all but confirmed by him once the Four Nations happened that he had been, I don't want to overstate, nervous, or his mind was on trying to make that Four Nations team. He doesn't make it on first pull, but they end up needing him. He shows up. He shows that he clearly belongs there and should have been selected in the first place. I don't think anyone was surprised once this Olympic team was announced that he was on it, not an alternate, not a wait and see for injuries. No, this is a guy we want. I'm sort of curious, is it because there has been significant growth in Jake Sanderson over the last calendar year, or is it that everyone else outside of Ottawa has sort of been like, oh shit, like gotten a look at that guy and been like, we may have been overlooking him a year ago?
I think it's a bit of both. I think like defensively, he's always been like a really strong. He's not like your prototypical defensive defenseman in the sense that he's going to like outmuscle you or lay out a big hit and separate you from a puck that way.
He's more of a
like
Lidstrom style.
Well, he's very like the comp I always use is like he's Scott Niedermayer. Right?
Okay,
like he's
yeah,
just very like his skating ability is fantastic. His stick is very good, and his gap is just very strong. Like he's just a very competent, defensively aware player. But I think like where you've seen the growth is offensively, like where now he's willing to jump into rushes. Mm-hmm. He's advancing into the play. He's skating with the puck, breaking it out cleanly. And he's grown exponentially with his confidence in that facet of his game. And like he's said several times, like he understands that he's not in the realm of a Cale Makar or like a Quinn Hughes.
Few
in terms
are,
of
man.
Like the offensive production that you can anticipate from him.
Sure.
But I think he's fit into that next tier down where like he's putting himself in a position where like he could get 20 goals. Mm-hmm. He could get 65 plus points. Mm-hmm. And while providing that two-way strong game, where he's already an excellent defender. So like if you're talking about an excellent smooth skating defenseman who can put up 66 plus points and not kill you defensively, like there are very few players who can do that. And it's kind of put him on the radar, and it's great to see. It's great to see that he got into the Four Nations, and it's great to see that he excelled when he was there. And he's put himself in the conversations as one of the best defensemen in the game. And I think like considering the talent that's around the league right now, especially with like good puck moving defensemen, I think it speaks volumes about where his play and level is right now.
So one of the things that we've sort of seen through the first couple of months of the season is that it gets stretched pretty thin when somebody's out, and certainly Shabbat being the biggest, factor or in that. Like Clevin, when pushed into the top four, seemed to struggle. We're wondering right now, what does Jensen have left? Right? Is Jordan Spence ready to step up a little bit? What do you make of the rest of the blue line, and how would you be looking to slot this throughout the rest of the season? Or is it not a slotting problem? It's a we need to go get someone at the deadline problem.
So, that in itself is an issue because Ottawa could be out of it by the deadline, right?
Sure.
I think like that's kind of like the elephant in the room. Like whether the team makes a deal before the Olympic break, I think might be something more worthwhile watching. But I think like the problem that Ottawa's faced, as well as many of the other teams that are in the playoff mix, is that there are so few sellers.
Mm-hmm. Everyone's still in it, man.
That it's a seller's market. Everyone, and you're probably talking with like 8 to 10, 12, 14 teams that are looking for probably another defenseman, another right shot defenseman. Yep. But like Ottawa's strength on the blue line is mobility. I think like whether it's Thomas Chabot, Nick Jensen, Sanderson, who we were talking about, or Jordan Spence, like they are very, very mobile, but they're lacking size and physicality. I think like many of the goals
Jensen
that are
still
scored,
mobile enough?
If you look at his NHL Edge data, he's very high in the percentile. So like his growth following hip resurfacing surgery, it's taken some time, and now it's like now he's at a stage where it's like this was the initial expectation of when he would be available, and now he's here and he's starting to skate better, and he's doing some things. I think like if you watch Jensen play closely over the past several weeks, like the mistakes that he's making aren't physical, they're mental,
right?
And you couldn't necessarily say that at the beginning of the season, and now he's playing at a higher level. But I think like Ottawa's defense is lacking size, physicality in the top four. Tyler Clevin was expected to take a jump.
He sure looked like it in the playoffs, right?
Following his strong showing against the Leafs, where pucks would be dumped in, he would retrieve it and break it out.
Yes.
And you could bank on that 10 times out of 10.
Yep.
He's taken a step back from that level of play. And I was expecting a lot of growth out of him this season, or at least resemble what he did in the postseason.
Yeah.
And that would give the Senators like arguably one of the best left sides in the NHL between Chabot, Sanderson, and Clevin. And they're all young guys. And that hasn't happened this year. It's been a struggle for Clevin all year, and like he's dealt with some injuries and some other stuff. But they needed him to be better, and he hasn't been. And I think, I don't want to belabor the point about it like a third pairing guy because, typically that like third pairing guys.
Every team's got one, right? Where their underlying say, man, like, look how good this guy. But it's because he's facing lesser competition. And as soon as you push him into the top four, it's like, I don't know, man. Like,
and that's the thing too, like because he did step into a top four role while Thomas Chabot was out,
right?
And he didn't play at a particularly high level.
It's asking a little bit more.
Not,
right?
It's asking a lot of him obviously to step in and take those minutes, but like based off his Toronto play, based off his age, you're like, and he's been in the league for a bit, you're like, okay, like he has that experience that he can, can rely upon and hopefully put his best foot forward and show us something. And unfortunately, it just didn't happen. And that's not like, like growth isn't always linear, right?
No,
like guys take steps back, and you have to be cognizant of the fact that especially for young players,
especially
like
with defense,
sophomore,
right? Don't give up too soon. Like
the sophomore jinx can get you sometimes, and it's just something you can't just expect everybody to be better every year. It's unreliable, and you can't do that. But I think with him, if he can get back to that Toronto series where he's just making safe, smart plays, going to retrieve pucks, being physical, being a presence, he gives the Senators elements that they lack in their top four. And I think if they could find preferably a right shot guy, especially with Nick Jensen's impending unrestricted free agency, Jordan Spence probably should be insulated on a third pairing just based off his size.
Zub,
and his ability to defend. But like Jordan Spence, I think is impressed for what he is. I think he's not the biggest of guys, but
I like that move
for
the Sens.
He's an excellent puck mover who can be a great cog on your third pairing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think they do need help on the back end. I think like another big guy. Like I feel like too many goals have occurred in net front where guys are like jamming for pucks, and sometimes you just need to put an opposing forward on their ass, and they don't have that guy in their top four. And it's one of those areas that I'd like to see them address, but that might not happen this year. It might be something that they have to wait for the offseason for.
Talk to me a little bit about the year that it's been for Shane Pinto, because I've been high on that guy for a long time. I wondered coming into the season if we wouldn't see by the end of the year him as the number 2 center and Cousins pushed down. And yet, instead of that, we have now seen Pinto at 2C and Cousins pushed over to the wing, which was interesting. Pinto went to the American Olympic orientation camp in the summer. I don't know if you were surprised. I don't know that I actually thought he would make the American Olympic team. I did think it made sense for him to be at the camp or in the mix.
Sure.
What have you made of Pinto at this point through the season?
I think he was excellent in the first part before he got hurt. Right?
Yeah.
Like he was scoring goals. He was like you watched him a lot during that first round series against Toronto. Like he's called upon to play against the opposition's best players. And do well. Like not only do well, but like contribute offense. Make sure you're not spending your entire shift in your own end defending.
Yeah.
And I think to his credit, he was on pace for like 30 goals, and his line of Amadio and Giroux was just shutting down the opposition. And not only were they shutting down the opposition, they were like creating scoring chances left, right, and center. Like Claude Giroux, who spent most of last season playing with Brady Tkachuk and Tim Stützle, was playing a third line role, and his offense was producing what he did last year. So that tells me something about Shane Pinto's game. Like he's a very good, very strong two-way center who can finish. Yeah. And I think if you look at what the United States has done ultimately, they're going with known commodities that they're familiar with, that they've had a measure of success with, right? Whether it's like JT Miller, who's had a bad year, whether it's Vincent Trocheck, who's an older guy who's less consequential.
Those two and Brock Nelson, I'm going, give me Pinto
Brock Nelson's
all day.
Okay, though, right? Like,
he's
Brock
okay.
Nelson can shoot the puck. Like, he's a finisher
I'll take
who's
Pinto
played in
over
a
all
checking
three
line.
of those guys, man.
Yeah, and I think, like, like ushering in the new era of players. Like, to me, it's like if you're bringing JT Miller in, what is his role? Is he a bottom 6 guy who's just producing offense? Because he's not great defensively. So why is he there? Is it just to produce offense? If so, go get Jason Robertson.
But this is like
that's the kind of talent that you're.
Nichols, we were debating this on this show. Like, do I want Bo Horvat or Anthony Cirelli? And in my mind, I was like, they won't take both, and then they took both. But I'll take Horvat and Suzuki, who can take defensive zone faceoffs and defend well and PK and actually might score. Whereas Cirelli can do 2 of those things but won't score. And that's the way I look at Pinto versus right now. I know what you're saying. Brock Nelson's been okay. Trocheck will be. Give me Pinto, man. And I'm not trying to.
But even over like Nelson, like I don't. To me, it's like I would have taken Jason Robertson and Shane Pinto.
Yeah, oh, no, of course.
Do either of them play? Like I think you have to take the most dynamic goal scorer.
I'm with you on that. Like to me, they've made multiple mistakes here. You've left.
You have to take the best American goal scorer.
But if I'm trying to, the comparison I'm making, right, is Horvat and Suzuki are close enough defensively and might score to Cirelli, whereas.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Robertson is not good defensively. Pinto is. So it was odd to me. And again, I didn't think they would take Pinto, and yet when I saw what they did take, I was like, you should have just taken Pinto.
But like to me, it's like I know a lot of people get hung up on like Lane Hudson not being selected, but like you look at his defensive aptitude, not as strong as some of the other guys that they took.
That's right.
Whether it's like Sanderson, McAvoy, whatever, right?
Yep.
But there's guys already running the power play, and Quinn Hughes, and you have Werenski. Who am I missing on the top? There's someone else there too. But like off the top of my head, like those are the two guys who are running the power play for the United States. So it's like there's going to be less opportunity for him to play special
that's the only
teams.
reason you would take an Evan Bouchard for Team Canada is as insurance for Cale Makar. But
sure,
as long as Makar's playing, you're just not.
And I mean, like most of those guys will be bubble guys anyways, right?
Yes.
In the event of an injury, like they'll already be over there. They'll be experiencing the
right.
Olympic fever and everything else. But like, I don't understand the Miller and Trocheck selections. And it's even weirder because, like, you know, you talk about like Chris.
Do you really not understand it,
or
is it Mike Sullivan? Yeah, exactly.
But Adam Fox didn't get selected.
No,
like Adam Fox, probably I would have taken him.
I would have taken Adam Fox as well. He would have been on my. He's getting roasted for one play at the.
No, but it's his speed, right? Like that was the issue from that tournament. It's like there's so much speed and skill in that.
Well, to me, Hanifin was getting exposed more there than Fox was. But
and that's probably the guy I would have taken.
Yes,
out
right. Yeah, same.
So, it's tough. It's like inevitably, like good players are going to get left at home when you have this much talent.
Oh yeah,
but
and that's half the fun of the
Binnington. I would have let Binnington at home and taken
Oh
Blackwood.
yeah.
So,
dude, I'd have taken Tristan Jarry or like. Skinner, all of them have better numbers than Binnington, but it sort of is what it is. I'm curious, as we start to wind it down. The Olympics now about a month away. Like, will this be one of those things that's all encompassing for you? Like, for me, if I see it's Sweden and Slovakia today at 1 p.m., I'm watching that, right? Like, it grabs me because we only see it every so often, and in Gary's world, even less often.
But I think that's the problem, right? It's like guys like McDavid and Matthews. Like you talk about players who are like played their entire 20s without these international competitions. Yeah. It's like that's what you want. That's what you yearn for, to see like the best on best, or even like like good stories where it's like McKinnon's playing with Crosby,
sure,
and you get like the Halifax connection, right? Like those are the stories that people have wanted to watch unfold for years.
Yep.
And now you had Four Nations last year, which was like a brief little snippet, just a small mini tournament. Now you're finally it's an appetizer for this main course, right? And I think that's what the Olympics offer. There's going to be like more countries involved.
Yep.
Like even like I'm going to love watching Tim Stützle play against like. I don't even know who's in their pool.
I think he's in with the U.S. pool. Like that'll be.
But like watching him compete against like Brady and like there's like great little draws and storylines, and I think like there's so much international talent now.
Yep.
That it makes like the event more compelling. It's not just watch.
When you look at Germany, right? Like
Russia's not there, but like there's some.
But like Grubauer is having a nice year after a couple of down years, and you put Stützle and Draisaitl on it.
Mo Seider.
Do I expect them to win? I don't, but. Do I think they could step up and have a great game and upset somebody? Yeah, like that's on the table, right? Yeah. So
no, there's talent. There's talent all over the place. And it's just even like Czechia. Like we were talking World Juniors earlier, and it's like I know like Canada lost, and it's the drama that comes from that. But at the same time, it's like from probably like a broader hockey perspective, it's unbelievable that a team or a country that wasn't producing a lot of talent over the past 15 years, 20 years relative to what they were earlier on, is now kind of rebounded and producing more and more players who are impactful, right?
Well, that's Canada's first game at the Olympics is Czechia. And, Dostal is having a bit of a down year, but Vejmelka, like they've got some goalies that could steal a game. They've got David Pasternak. Like, they've got some pieces that could light you up if you're not ready.
Oh, for sure.
And we've seen it before. In 2010, when Canada wins the gold medal, you've gone to a shootout with Switzerland. You lose to the Americans in the round robin. In 2006, you lost to Switzerland 2-0. Like, things can happen fast, right? And you don't need much. You just need a couple things to go right. And there's enough talent spread around now that this is going to be a fascinating tournament, man. I'm pumped. I can't wait.
3 feet shorter. I just hope the games happen.
The Brady Tkachuk of it all, when you talk about who Canada selected on their blue line and bringing in Tom Wilson and it's the shorter rink. I don't know how noticeable that's going to be when we get going, but it is an interesting part of it. Last thing I want to ask you, man, I don't know whether this is a real thing or not. This is why I want to put it to you, but I do see some fans online complaining that Brady's spending his time on a podcast instead of, and you and I know, man, podcasting is a great way to spend some time. This is
super distracting.
All the cool kids are doing it.
Yeah, super distracting.
But like the Matthew Tkachuk, Brady Tkachuk podcast, Wingman or Wingmen, I listened to the first episode in full. I listened to the second episode a bit, and then I bailed. And it was just, it's hockey bro talk. And there's an audience for that. I get that. Do you think there's any legitimacy to the idea that, now he's trying to make himself a star instead of focusing on the game? It's just sort of happening at the same time that he's struggling a bit coming out of the injury. I do think, even though I didn't enjoy the show necessarily, I do like that more athletes are doing this. I think the league badly needs people to show their personalities a bit. What have you made of Brady Tkachuk, the podcaster?
I think it's just an opportunity to grow the game, right? Like, I think it's, whether you like the show, you don't like the show, it's like a player who's willing to take a chance on growing,
sure,
not just his own brand, but like putting more people who might watch his stuff. Like, like the two brothers were on the Kelsey Brothers show.
Yep.
And like the opportunity to bring some of those people to a different sport is appealing. And I think, like, I'm not going to begrudge anyone who tries to make hockey more popular.
No.
Or make it more commonplace. And I think, like, if Brady Tkachuk's vice is just to go on a podcast once a week,
could be worse.
There's like a million different things that are way worse than that.
Yeah.
So, like, I've watched the first 2 episodes like yourself, and I haven't really watched any since. But like, it's not my thing. Right. But at the same time, it's I'm curious to see how it goes once like the games matter a little bit, where they take a hiatus or how they kind of do it. But like Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce have done it forever. Mm-hmm. They've done it for several years, and Travis is still playing. Jason's obviously retired, but like Kelce was still playing at a high level.
I just think sometimes we draw a line between Brady's not playing the way I want him to play, so it must be this new thing he's doing. And I just don't think there's any line to be drawn there.
That's like
right?
lazy correlation, causation.
Right.
But I don't begrudge a guy for trying.
Give it a shot.
Like we talk about players being robots.
Yes.
Not providing insights, not doing enough to help grow and cultivate a stronger relationship with the fans. And I think once a guy does it and we're like, oh God, he's not playing well because of the podcast. It's like, you can't have your cake and eat it too.
No.
Like pick a lane.
We love Brady's personality. Stop showing your personality. No, you can't have both.
Well, that's just
right?
it. Yeah. And if he's not interesting enough for you, or you just not enjoying the content of the podcast, well, that's great. Just turn it off. Don't listen to it. But like, I would never hang the blame of a show on Brady. I think that there are more logical things that you can point to. Probably like his thumb injury.
Sure.
Right? Like that's impacted his ability to shoot the puck from distance, where he was getting a lot of goals last season doing that. And he's no longer doing that. He's deferring. He's passing more. But he's still putting up points, and that's the thing. It's like, and we talked about this earlier. It's just a rehash, but it's like, if he's doing what he's doing right now and he's not at 100%, the further removed he is from a surgery date, the better, theoretically, the better and better he should play.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key. It's like, I think there's a lot of circumstances and there's a lot of reasons why the Senators aren't where they are or should be, and like Brady's thumb is part of that reason.
Yep. Last thing then, man. As you and I sit here on Thursday, you've got Ottawa getting ready to play Colorado on the road. It's no easy No easy task.
Colorado's lost 2 in a row. They'll be hungry for a win. They'll want their pound of flesh. Yeah. Looking forward to tonight. Matt Sogard might play.
Colorado
he's got
in a
29
slide.
games.
Lost 2 in a row. Yeah, no.
Sogard's got like 29 games of NHL experience. He's got a negative 17 goals saved above expected rate.
And yet this division is still incredibly tight. Like, it would only take a couple wins in a row and suddenly you're right back there.
A Buffalo winning streak.
Yeah. Man, who saw that coming? I'm just curious, where do the Sens stand for you as far as the playoff race? We talk about points versus number of teams you have to jump over. I don't know, man. Like, getting into that Olympic break, where do the Sens need to be for you to be like, okay, like they're still in a reasonable position here to jump forward? Because I'm like you. I think there's enough talent there that says this team should make the playoffs this year, but it's a particularly fucked up year in this division. So what do you need to see for the next couple of weeks?
I think they're better than the Rangers. I think they're better than the Devils. I think they're better than the Bruins.
Agreed on all three.
Maple Leafs are starting to play better, but like Florida's starting to get healthy. Matthew Tkachuk might be back on Saturday. Buffalo's giving Ottawa troubles. They just had.
They're not real though.
I think Ottawa's better than Pittsburgh. I think Ottawa's better than Montreal and Detroit. It's just the results haven't been there.
I think Ottawa's better than Detroit. I'm sort of starting to think I've underestimated Montreal.
I still think they're like a year or two away from being really good.
Okay.
And they've got some players I like, and they got some prospects who are like coming through the ranks, but I also feel like they're very much a regular season team where they're just not very big.
Like, right now, that's all we're talking about is who's going to get into that.
But I wonder if they'll get Carolina in the postseason where they're just not big. They're not going to the middle of the ice. They're not doing those things.
But you and I are rooting for teams that will get
Montreal's
in there.
Montreal's a fast, speedy team, and they got some guys who can finish plays, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? You know who's not finishing plays right now? The Ottawa Senators.
Right.
So Ottawa's missing pieces, and I think that's the frustrating thing. I think that's the frustrating thing for fans. And this circles back to like what we were talking about off the hop. I think like Pierre Dorian made a lot of moves that shortchanged this team, this rebuild. And I think we're starting to see some of those come to a head right now. Steve Staios has taken some heat for where the team is right now. And I don't think it's necessarily deserved. I think like the goaltending, obviously like Linus Ullmark hasn't played at a level. Linus Ullmark has had one 9-game run last season where he was unconscious, where he stopped 95% of the pucks.
Yeah.
In his other 63 games, it's like he stopped 88% of the shots. And for a guy making that much money, he's needed to be better.
Yeah.
And he hasn't played at a high level for long enough. Outside that one little stretch, which was just as long as Levi Merrilainen had, right? So
yeah,
it's one of these situations where most of the moves that Steve has made have been okay. They haven't moved the needle necessarily. Like Zetterlund's been okay, hasn't been great. Dylan Cousins has been okay. He hasn't been like super great.
Yeah.
Nick Jensen, I think like if you had a healthy Nick Jensen for the first 3 months of that trade, you're like, okay, him and Shabbat are like playing at an elite pairing level.
100%. As a number 2 pair, that's elite. That is great.
But you can't control a guy with a bad hip who needs major surgery, and that's just an unfortunate consequence. But I think if you look at that trade, you're like, well, Jacob Chychrun is producing this many points. I don't think Jacob Chychrun's a great two-way defenseman, but it's hard to ignore the offense and what he's done in Washington.
Yep.
And the trade just looks bad in retrospect, right? Through that lens. And I think there's been some moves where he's just like very small, minor tweaks. He's chasing fits, right? Like I talked about Pierre Dorian chasing names earlier in the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Staios has chased fits, where he's moved pieces out to get better fits. But I think this team needs another guy who can move the needle, and they don't have that guy yet. And the problem is there's been so much draft capital thrown out the window from his predecessor that there's nobody like that in the system. And maybe Yakimchuk can be that guy. Mm-hmm. But his defensive game has been called into question in Belleville, and it's going to take time, right? As any defensive experience, it's like it's going to take him time. He's not there yet.
Yeah, some runway. Seasoning. Yeah, for sure.
So it's really unfortunate, and it puts Ottawa in that weird situation where they're kind of like, I think like Ottawa's a middle of the pack team when everything's going well. Like I think they're like one of those teams that's going to be like a tough out. Whenever they get to the postseason, or if they get to the postseason. Mm-hmm. Just because the way they play, their defense, and just some of the players that they have, I think they would be a tough out for any team. Nobody's going to want to face them. But at the same time, the tough thing for Steve Stamkos is how do you take a middle of the pack team without a ton of draft capital and everything else? Like, how do you take a middle of the pack team to the top? How do you open that window of Stanley Cup contention when you're a middle of the pack team without a ton of draft capital?
Feels like, I don't even know if it has to be up front or has to be on the right side of the D, but you got to grab somebody in one of those two spots to push you into the next, a top 6 forward, a top 4 right-handed D. Like there's, I think either one of those would push you into that next level.
Without shaking up the young core of this team, how do you do it?
Yeah.
I don't know if you can.
Right.
So is that player going to come to Ottawa in free agency? Ottawa historically hasn't been the most desirable place for free agents
this year look pretty sad anyway, right? Like,
so exactly, right? Like you're kind of limited by the market, what's available and everything else. So it's like, I can understand why Steve has operated like he has, like trying to work the margins a little bit, improve the fringes of the roster. And like, like the guys like Spence, even in some respects like David Perron, Lars Eller, like he's trying to improve
like
the
that
depth,
Spence, that was
depth.
a worthwhile swing. And he's useful, but he's not been a game changer, but it was worth a shot, right? Like it's, so those are the sorts of marginal moves you're going to have to make here. And one of the things that gets talked about all the time is as the cap goes up, man, there's going to be room to do. As the cap goes up, everybody's got room to keep their own guys. Like fewer guys.
And that's the other part of it as well, right? And we're seeing that with like Kaprizov signed a ridiculous deal.
Sure.
And it's only going to get more, right? You're talking about like, who is it? Ellie Freeman or Dave Pagnotta? Maybe it's Chris Johnson. I can't remember. One of the outsiders is like Alex Tuck is going to make over $10 million.
Right,
next
10
year.
and a half.
And you're like,
really?
Good player.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's a lot of money, like relatively speaking.
For
Like
just
that's
a guy.
a lot of money for a guy who's like fast, power forward. What is he, like a 50-point, 25, 30-goal, 50-point guy? Like, that's a lot of money.
I'm giving that guy Adrian Kempe money, and even that was...
that's just it. And it's just, we're living in a different time where, like, some of these guys are going to get paid a ton of money.
Yeah.
So, he scored 36 goals, 67 points last year. His career high is 79. So he's had a couple big years, but he's mostly 20-plus goals and 50-plus points.
It's all about adjusted expectations, right? Is what we were used to being a $6.5-7 million guy is now going to be a $10 million guy, and it's taking some time to get used to. As far as getting paid goes, I didn't get any meatballs, and you didn't get a pint out of me for coming over here, so we'll call it even for this point. Look to do something maybe later in February or March, get you actually in studio. Always appreciate the time.
I'll jump in pre-Olympics, man.
That'd be sweet. Let's do that. Always appreciate the time, though, man. Thank you so much for doing it. You're on Coming In Hot.
Coming In Hot. Still writing for the hockey news. So yeah.
What else is coming up, man? Anything you want to pimp here a little bit? Or?
Well, Coming In Hot, we'll have an episode tomorrow, depending on how tonight's game goes, and then working on some articles for the hockey news. I got one big one that I'm really working on that I'm really excited to write.
Okay,
and that'll probably come out in like February. But in the interim, I'll still be plugging away on smaller scale stuff. But there's one big one coming in February.
Sweet. Well, we'll link to that in the show notes at talkgameaudio.com. Nichols, thanks so much for doing this, man. Appreciate it.
Matt, thanks so much for having me. And again, sorry for not coming in.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Meatballs on me, man.
And pints on me. That's how we'll do the next show. For Graeme Nichols, my name is Matt Robinson. Thanks so much for listening. Have yourselves a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
I thought it generally sucked. I didn't think it was a specific suck. I thought it was like an all-encompassing type of suck. So, we're going to try and rectify that. But for right now, I'm going to be